Malaysia is now demanding massive compensation from Norway after a major missile defense deal was suddenly halted at the last moment. And honestly, when you look beneath the surface of this story, the undertones here are extremely revealing about the current state of the world, because this is not just about one cancelled weapons contract. This is about growing global instability, military insecurity, distrust between nations, and countries increasingly looking inward rather than outward. Malaysia is understandably furious because if you sign a contract worth hundreds of millions and begin designing your naval systems and ships around the weapon systems you purchased, you naturally expect the agreement to be honored. And according to reports, Malaysia had already paid the overwhelming majority of the contract before Norway suddenly revoked export approvals at the final hour. So from Malaysia's perspective, this absolutely looks like the rug being pulled from underneath them. Now yes, there are wider corruption allegations and procurement controversies surrounding Malaysia's littoral combat ship program itself. But that does not suddenly erase the fact that a signed agreement was apparently abandoned at the last moment. But at the same time, when you zoom out and look at the wider geopolitical climate, Europe's actions here also start making more sense. Because across the past few months, there have been constant discussions globally surrounding weapon stockpiles, missile reserves, military readiness, rearmament, and whether nations actually possess enough equipment for prolonged instability or conflict. And I think many European nations are now becoming increasingly cautious and inward-looking. They are starting to realize maybe we should not be exporting away critical military systems whilst global tensions are rising, because Europe itself right now feels militarily fragile. You have ongoing instability surrounding Ukraine, rising tensions in the Middle East, NATO countries discussing rearmament, concerns over ammunition shortages, concerns over missile reserves, and increasing fears that Europe may not be properly prepared for a more unstable future. So from a purely strategic standpoint, it may actually make sense for European nations to start holding on to their weapon systems and stockpiles rather than distributing them abroad and later finding themselves caught short. And that is exactly why this story is important, because it reveals the mentality shift now happening globally. Countries are beginning to prioritize their own security first. And when nations begin thinking like that, trust between countries slowly starts eroding. Contracts become political, alliances become conditional, and defense agreements become uncertain.
Which is why Malaysia is angry, because this situation damages trust, not just between Norway and Malaysia, but potentially between Western defense suppliers and many countries across Asia, Africa, and the wider global south. But overall, this entire story reinforces something we have discussed many times before. Military strength and economic strength remain the two core pillars that define national power. And right now, nations across the world appear to be preparing for a future where instability is no longer temporary, but permanent. This has been the JR Voice. Stay tuned for more unpacking of global headlines.